What's going on, everyone? You're back with Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to look at how to solve algebraic equations that have a power in them. And we're also going to learn how to use roots in order to get these numbers by themselves. So an algebraic equation with a power looks something like this. We've got x squared is equal to 9. And what we're searching for is one number multiplied by itself that gives that final answer. So like in all mathematics, we've got two operations that are opposite to each other. So kind of like how plus and minus work together and divide and times work together, in this example, we've also got two operations that we need to know. The reason that this is so important is it can help us get our letter by itself, which is what we need to get these equations correct. So a square root undoes a power of 2. So if you have x squared, if you square root both sides, you'll be left with x equals your answer. And then if you've got x to the power of 3, this is called a cubed. All you've got to do is cube root both sides. And that gives you an answer that multiplied by itself 3 times will give the answer at the start. So just in a kind of diagram, to turn x squared into x, all you've got to do is square root the term. Then if we wanted to turn x into x squared, we just have to hit the squared button on our calculator. To turn x cubed into x, we have to do basically the exact same thing, but instead of square root, we have to cube root, which looks exactly the same, just with a little 3 out the front. To turn x into x cubed, we just have to use the x cubed button on our calculator. So to see a couple of examples of this, we've got x squared is equal to 9. So I square root both sides. This is because the square and the square root kind of cancel each other out, leaving us with our letter by itself. And if we throw the square root of 9 into our calculator, we have x is equal to 3. Pretty simple. Feels like we got full marks. But there's something really important with these square numbers that we have to be on top of. So what I've said there is that the square root of 9 is 3, which means that 3 times 3 is equal to 9. We know that that's true, seems pretty simple. But because when we multiply two numbers with negatives, they become a positive, it means that minus 3 times minus 3 is also equal to 9. So that means we've got two answers that make this mathematical sentence correct. So in one question we get two answers. That doesn't make much sense. But the rule of thumb here is that any time you have a squared number or x squared, you are always going to get two answers. And that's really important. So if you write this down here, anytime you have an even power, the two negatives will multiply together to give a positive. So we always have plus and minus whatever the answer is. Instead of writing that out, you can just use this little symbol here, which means plus minus the answer, which tells us that both are correct. So for this example here, x squared is equal to 25. We square root both sides, and this leaves us with x is equal to plus or minus 5. And that's all we've got to do. These actually always give you one extra mark, so it's a pretty easy way to pick up some marks in a test. Cubes only have one answer, and we're going to see why. So if I cube root both of these sides, the answer is x is equal to 3. And what that's saying is that 3 times 3 times 3 is equal to 27, which is true. But if I took minus 3 times minus 3 times minus 3, the first two minus 3's give us that positive 9. Positive 9 multiplied by the last minus 3 is negative 27, and it's always going to be negative 27. So if you've got an odd power, you only get the one answer. So to solve these equations when they're in the middle of a whole sentence, the only thing we've got to do is make sure we deal with the powers last. We know that we're always dealing with the thing that's furthest away first. So I want you to think about the power like it's sitting on the shoulder of the letter. They're really, really close, so we've got to deal with it at the very end. Apart from that, these are pretty simple. If we've got 2x squared plus 1 is equal to 33, we just minus 1 from both sides, which gives us 2x squared is equal to 32. To get rid of that 2 out the front, it's 2 times x squared. We've got to divide this side by 2 and divide this side by 2. This is going to give us x squared is equal to 16. Now, one way that I kind of remind myself that I need two answers for these square numbers is that in the question, the x squared, it's got a little 2 there. So that should be a little reminder that, hey, there's a 2 there. I need two answers. So if I square root both of these sides, I'm left with x is equal to not just 4, but plus or minus 4. Unfortunately, your calculator does not do that for you, so you're going to have to remember the plus minus. One thing that I would like you to kind of notice is that if you've got a negative number on the other side of your equation, you cannot get the final answer. So x squared is equal to negative 25 here. So you could think that, oh yeah, minus 5. But we've just spoken about how negative 5 times negative 5 has to give a positive number. So squares can never be negative. If you throw this into your calculator, so the square root of minus 25, it's going to say in big letters, math error. Students of mine think that they've made a mistake because they're like, oh, well, the calculator can't be wrong. Yeah, I must have made the mistake. But this is totally fine. The math error here is actually telling you that you've done it correctly. All you've got to write down there is answer undefined. There is no answer for this equation. Whatever, your teacher will know what you're saying. So don't freak out that it's a math error, because really, it's just telling you that you're absolutely on top of this topic. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you later. Just a quick reminder, there are some free worksheets linked in the description below, as well as the notes from this video. If you've got a second, please like, comment, and subscribe to Quick Math for more content every day. Thanks so much. Have a good one.